Welcome to East Lansing City Council meeting, regular council meeting, June 7th, 2022. We'll open with roll call.
Councilmember Babcock.
Present.
Councilmember Brookover. Councilmember Watson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gregg. Here. Mayor Bacon.
Present. I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda.
First, may I request oh my God, my mind is just fried.
Amendment?
Nope. An excuse for Councilmember Brookover. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that need a second, or we're just?
Were you also moving the agenda?
I'll also move the agenda.
I can second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the minutes, regular council meeting, May 24th, 2022.
I'll move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All written communication received by council are posted on the online agenda packet. Next up, communication from the audience. If you want to come approach, please fill out one of the blue cards here for the record. If you don't, you can do that afterwards as well. If so, just speak your name when you approach. But I'm going to call up first Lori Strom.
Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Lori Strom, and I'm here as a representative of the Board of Directors of the Active Living for All program. And actually, we're out of order. Our chair, Vicki Rakowski, was going to go first. So she'll tell you about our program and sing its praises.
You can switch if you're more comfortable.
Would you mind? That'd be okay? Go first? Yeah. It'll help our flow. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Vicki Rakowski. I am the chair currently of the Active Living for All program here in East Lansing, and I will thank you for your time and for addressing the renewal of our lease for 2 years. This is a program that's been going for about 40 years, started by a couple of nurses, which I'm always proud of because I'm also a nurse. I can say this program is the best kept secret in this community. We serve so many individuals that have dementia, Parkinson's, other issues that are problematic, but not so severe that they need to be put into a nursing home, whatever. I've always kind of said this is that gap of service to provide families to help keep those individuals in the home as long as they could, independently with their families. Another piece that we really love about this program is that we serve several veterans. We have a VA contract that currently we have 8 veterans that wouldn't have any other place to be served. And the key for that is that we have a full-time nurse on board all the time. And you can't get a VA contract without a full-time nurse. So our RN has kept many of these individuals out of the hospital. So I'm making a great pitch to keep this program going and renew that lease. I think that the importance of families looking at respite, so if they have mom or husband or wife or dad living with them, they can still have time out during their day. They continue to work. We've cared for MSU professors, individuals from Clinton County, individuals from Eaton County, so this is pretty broadly utilized. We've been coming out of COVID, as everybody else experienced. We did not have our center open for a while, although we did continue to do home care, and we provide respite and home care plus in the day center. And that is what I'm very grateful for you to consider this renewal of this lease. And I'll let Lori add to that. Thank you. I don't want to take up too much time.
Thank you. And again, I'd like to acknowledge Tim Adams, who is also one of our board members who just arrived. So we have been good stewards of this building that the City of East Lansing owns. I don't know if anybody's been over recently, but in the past couple of years, we've really done a nice job spiffing it up so it feels very homey and welcoming, because that's what we're about, is making people feel comfortable when they come to the day center. And that, again, as Vicki said, allows people to live at home and not be institutionalized, and it gives their family members the break that they need. I brought some brochures. I don't know if it's appropriate to pass these out or not, but for folks who are not familiar with our program, I'm happy to give you one. But as good stewards of the building itself, we too, today I spent 3 hours planting flowers in our flower boxes, and it really gives me pride that we can maintain it to the high quality level that we do. And we offer all kinds of programming, and like Vicki said, the RN piece is a key component to making sure we provide quality care. And she's right that the program has been there forever. Back in the day, and I'm old enough to remember, when it was the older people's program, when prime time, and at the time it was Alpha, but it was active living for adults, were housed in the same building together, and then that got a little tight. So it was good that prime time was able to come over here to the Hannah Center. But I go back when Tim McCaffrey was our lead from the city, and we were active living for adults. Now we're active living for all, because we are inclusive. We have folks who are also younger who have disabilities as well. So it's not just the older people's program anymore. So we're very, very fortunate to have the support from the City of East Lansing. I also serve on the city's age-friendly steering committee for the age-friendly community through AARP with Jim Levandy as our chair, and I'm proud to have pushed through those initiatives so that East Lansing can be stellar in our age-friendliness. And then I also work at the university as a retiree through the Age Alive program, which again creates an opportunity for MSU to be an age-friendly university, as which it has been designated internationally. It's international recognition. So we are so fortunate in our community, plus the state of Michigan is deemed age-friendly. So the state, the City of East Lansing, the university. So what this Alpha program does is reinforces the value of what we believe are very important concerns, that what you do for 80-year-olds, you're doing for 8-year-olds too. This is not just an older person's problem. So we want everybody to think about that whenever policies are made or decisions are made on behalf of folks in this community, that it's for everybody, and that's why we're active living for all. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your support on our building.
Thank you.
If anybody needs a brochure?
Hello, my name is Tim Adams. I'm a recent member of the board. I joined the board in December. As you guys can tell from my voice, I'm not a native Michigander. I came to Michigan about 3 years ago, and I have a 20-year-old son with autism. So I often think, what will happen when he gets older? Who's going to be there for him? And services like this are needed for the community. And if you look around, there are not very many services that offer what Alpha does for the community. And it's needed because these are the folks who have given everything for us, so it's our opportunity to give back to them. And that way there's something in place when people like my son get to be at the age where they need it. So we need to take care of the most vulnerable in our society. And I really think that's how we judge a society, is how we take care of those that are the most vulnerable and need us the most. So in this case, the veterans in the group need to be taken care of, and the other folks. And it gives their families that respite care. It gives them that break. I can't tell you how many times I've needed a break from my son, because you reach the point where you're just at your wit's end. And fortunately, my wife or I will tag in or out, and the other one will take over for a little while. And we've had some good family to help us. Out in Michigan, we don't have as much, but he's in a better spot. So I can picture what these families are like that have got an 85 or 90-year-old relative who has dementia or has PTSD or something else, and they just need a break. They need the chance to just take a break back, take care of themselves for a day. Maybe go out to the doctor for themselves or doing something for themselves. So it's something the community needs. I think you can look at the past and what the program's done prior, but I think looking forward, it's something we definitely need. So thank you for your time, and I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't have a chance to fill out a card. I'm Pat Riley, and I'm here on representation of the Responsible Hospitality Council downtown. You all received probably a letter from me yesterday or today regarding the restaurant license fees. Just as a behind the scenes understanding, we had a discussion last year with Mayor Stevens regarding a permanent abatement to the license fees, and we thought that was occurring at the last time you all abated the fees last year. I'm not here to throw Mayor Stevens under the bus. It's just giving you the underlying feeling that we were surprised to see invoices on Friday that are due on the 15th of this month. These fees used to be billed quarterly, but a couple of years ago, the city told us that it was impossible for their computer systems to bill anything other than annually. Having been a 15-year veteran of IBM, I find that hard to believe since you bill water bills quarterly. So you can bill monthly, you can be annually, you can bill quarterly, you can be bi-monthly. I'm sure that can be accommodated. But the real issue here is equity and fairness. We ask, why are restaurants being targeted? No other business type in the city of East Lansing pays a fee just to open their doors on an annual basis. And the Central Business District restaurants pay 100% more, double what everybody else pays in the city if you're a restaurant. So we're not only targeting restaurants, we're targeting the Central Business District restaurants, the Entertainment District, double. And the Central Business District restaurants already pay significantly higher property taxes based upon their locations, which we agree are advantageous, but we also pay for them. We did a little research on 15 cities in Michigan, and only 6 had any type of fee for a business inside their city. 6 had some type, and we looked at 15, only 6 had a license fee. None targeted restaurants. Of those 6 who charged fees, 3 were dancing licenses, like for a dance hall or something like that, and 3 charged for general business licenses. The cities charged, that we looked at, from $35 to $1,347 on an annual basis. That's not quite like East Lansing, that charges between $100,000 and $19,000. I didn't misspeak, $19,000 for one business to open its doors to be a restaurant. And in the college towns, so that if you think there's something different going on, Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo, and Mount Pleasant, no fees charged. What I want to tell you is we're not coming to you with our hat in our hand. We have solutions to this issue that we believe at a minimum would be revenue neutral and provide a plethora of benefits to the city and its staff. What we really need is time. Time to talk with all of you to come up with a fair and equitable solution for all. In that letter, I asked for a 30-day extension to the due date on these invoices. But really, I should leave that up to you. You all know better your schedule, what it takes to do the work, how, what kind of notices you have to give, and what it takes to get something passed before the council. So whatever you would determine would be great. Currently, so that you understand, if this isn't delayed at all tonight, the bills are due on the 15th. And so if you understand, if any of us are even one day late, the penalty is 50% of all your fees. So that $19,000 invoice adds another $9,500. So urgency kind of is the issue here. We need to be able to sit down and talk with you. And the reason we're here so late is because we didn't know that they hadn't been abated. Any questions for me?
Okay, I don't have any questions, but I'll be following up before June 15th to understand and to also just get some answers.
Okay.
I think I will say for this council, city manager, I don't think we abated these kind of under the other council and they kind of came back around under communication. Could we have something on this under discussion only meeting for like we discussed? Because okay.
Obviously a fee that we've collected in East Lansing for many years. There's many reasons for it, but we certainly can lay that out for you and talk about it.
Yeah, and just kind of this is a new council, even from
Yep.
the 2 year, I don't know, has it been abated for 2 years?
It's been abated for 2 years because of COVID. The buildings were closed, so council requested that we not charge the fee. It's about $100,000 or $90,000 of fees that foregoing. The city had to forego them for 2 years in a row, and we have not budgeted to eliminate them this time. And our expectation was that the downtown is full. There's policing issues. There's all the issues that go down to a downtown with restaurants that serve alcohol, the size of the restaurants. All of those things come into play from a policy perspective, and that's why there are the fees established for restaurants.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, just a couple things. I think coming off the abatement, perhaps a little earlier communication would have been probably good if there was,
I certainly didn't understand that anyone said that it wasn't being abated for that year, so I've never heard that before, that there was an expectation that it wasn't going forward. I understood that we were abating it for that period, and that was it, so I didn't understand that to be the
no,
case.
it's fine. That's, I remember some of these conversations. But yeah, something on discussion, like just to review because I don't think our council's ever even looked at this subject.
Do you have another business meeting before the 15th?
The 14th.
Well,
No.
we do sometimes include business items on our discussion agenda. It's not typical, but we do
So
sometimes.
we can ask the clerk.
Time-sensitive business.
Yeah. Clerk,
I guess, to Mr. Riley's point that they're proposing an alternate solution, understanding that a major driver of that fee is the extra policing that's required in an entertainment district. I'm not sure what is involved with Mr. Riley's proposal or the restaurant owners in general's proposal. Would it be possible for us to postpone the collection of that fee so that we could have a broader discussion without the time pressure?
I'm not clear if this receivable is for this year, so if it's not received by the end of this fiscal year, then this year is the year that's shorted, correct?
I just want to clarify that the due date is actually June 30th, and that's what's on the invoices that were dated June 1st. So they did have a 30-day, which is what we do each year. So it
Okay.
is June 30th, not June 15th.
So
And
the time pressure is not quite as great as,
And we also did have a quarterly payment plan for Mr. Riley, I believe. at
Yes,
that
so
point.
his invoice is based on a quarterly payment plan, not the one lump sum all due up front. And again, that's June 30th.
okay.
Yeah, well, I think for the discussion-only meeting, that way even this council understands it, because it's a different configuration than we had before when we were discussing this, for sure. Matter of fact, it's 3 different configurations ago, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Had a lot of turnover.
Never mind.
Nope.
That's next week.
Yep.
Is that okay? We can be able to get something on the discussion?
That's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Step right up. All right. Making sure. I know I talked to a couple of people. So.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ali, and I'm here from 7-Eleven. I'm the owner of the 7-Eleven at 311 Grove Street. From last few years, I was a victim of certain things that are being done to the city. And I just like to request council to take a look on it. So first, we start with the construction that was in 2018. So I have a road closure, which was Albert Avenue for 2 years from 2018 to 2020. That road was closed. I'm the only business in East Lansing Central District or the downtown that has a parking lot where a customer can drive through a parking lot, park their car, get some groceries, and be out. So living without a main Albert Avenue, it dropped my sales around 60%. So after surviving those 2 years of construction, that we're gonna have a better downtown with more people and will reward in the long term. After the construction was done following the year, we had COVID, and right for the COVID, we did the Albert Fresco area. So we closed down that road again. And I was very disappointed because I've been waiting for now 3 years that things will get better, and actually it was closed. So I'm not gonna think about just my business because it's benefiting other business because of COVID. People have restrictions for seating, and the restaurants have like table and arrangements, so I didn't do anything. After that, next year I requested, that was now year 4th for me, following that closure every summer. And I requested some people in the city, not the city council, to take a look at it and explain what it is doing to me. So I just wanna explain what's going on with some short points. The first one is a heavy traffic issue. So I work in that store. All the residential people who live in there, they're my customer. Because of Albert Avenue being closed, all the heavy traffic is flowing through residential zone. And also the speed limit is 25 there. Summertime, kids are not out playing safe because the cars are flying by 35 to 40. And all my customers been complaining about it. The second is underage drinking. That is going on every night on the weekend. I have some images, but due to the privacy of my customers, I am not going to review unless you guys request me to. So basically, students are buying a 24-hour pack of beer, they're sitting in that area, and then they're drinking there. There's no presence of police there on the nighttime. It's a point of concern for me. We had already stabbing there, we already have shooting in that area, and people drinking openly without any police presence is going to raise an alarm for something else can happen. One second. Then we handle the homeless people issue. I've seen families sitting outside with a meal and somebody just come and grab their meal from the plate. That happened right in front of my store, and I actually was the one to involve with the police, and they said they cannot do anything about it. Weekdays, I have some images also I can provide if you guys request me, that we have zero presence of people in the weekdays. Weekends, night, yes, we're busy. Once on like Saturday or Sunday or something going on. But if you see normal days, it's super inconvenient for all the businesses there. So the main problem is the delivery. Most of the businesses, they receive a semi-truck, and the semi-truck cannot come. The only way it can come, it can loop around or make a U-turn. So they've been actually parking trucks on the Abbott Avenue, and from there in dollies, they have to bring the product to the store, which is almost 2 miles. There is no ambulance approach in the area. Across from me is a senior housing, and they're my customers also. They're worried about that in case of something happened to them, an ambulance cannot be to the door. They cannot have their grocery. They actually have to park their car in the parking lot and walk with the grocery bags because they cannot park right outside their residence. And there's a lot of senior people living there. Then we have the parking issue from the DoorDash driver. Also, every time I'm talking about something, I have photos and pictures and cameras recordings for days. And I will be very happy to provide some. So DoorDash drivers, for all the businesses, they're actually using my parking lot, and I have only 8 spots. And those 8 spots are mostly occupied by them. When I call the Pace Parking to get them, by the time the parking officer comes, they're gone. Because they're making 10 to 15 minute stop just to pick stuff from the restaurants. And for my normal customers, they cannot approach my store. So I think like you guys need to take a look at it and think about if you think your benefit business, you're also hurting some businesses too. And the last thing I would like to add here is I like people sitting in the downtown area, but we have sidewalks for them. We have expanded patio for them. We have space in front of Alice Taco where we can use those seatings. I would request you guys to take a look at it and please open the road because it's just super inconvenient.
30 seconds remaining.
Any questions for me?
No. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought I had at least one more here. Going once. All right. Any in the online queue? Next up, communication from council. Councilperson Babcock.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Hayter, thank you very much for coming in. I was unaware, and although one of the things I was going to raise tonight are the motorcycles downtown, they are consistently parking in the no parking, loading only zone, and they're not being especially quiet about it. I haven't seen any officers enforcing that. A few weeks ago, I had dinner at LS, and my friend and I could barely have a conversation. she also happens to have a condo downtown, and she told me that she got the best sleep of her life, a few weeks ago, and she couldn't figure out what it was, and then she realized it was art fair, and the traffic, particularly the motorcycles, couldn't get through. It's really a quality of life problem. We want to encourage people to live downtown for many reasons, but I think we need to find a way to do enforcement on some of the perennial problems, and those motorcycles really are. And they're quite intimidating. Yesterday I was walking through and I thought about going up and saying, or at least just photographing the motorcycles, and some of you know I'm not afraid of much, or at least not afraid of as much as I should be, and even I was like, I'm not going to do that. So it's becoming an issue. I'm glad there are people downtown, people of all interests and varieties, but that means we also need to look out for each other. On another note, a belated acknowledgement of the passing of Dr. John Revitt, who was a longtime member of this community. He ran in the race with Councilmember Gregg and I in 2019, and he was really quite a giant in labor and industrial relations at MSU. Did a lot for working people around the state in an academic capacity, and taught a lot of people who wouldn't work those jobs what life was like. So to Mr. Revitt, his family, I offer their condolences on behalf of the council. Thank you.
Councilperson Watson?
Pass.
Mayor Pro Tem Gregg?
Yeah, I have another passing to acknowledge. I wanted the community to be aware that we lost Al Cafania last week, who was one of the founders of the East Lansing Jazz Festival, along with his wife Beth. So if you have a chance to go and enjoy the festival on the 17th and 18th, the main stage that you will be watching performers on is actually named after them as the founders, the Al and Beth Cafania Founders Stage. He was a longtime supporter not just of the Jazz Festival, but also of arts in general in East Lansing, a former Arts Commission member, a co-Crystal Award winner with his wife. And so I think, although he lived a long and full life, it's always sad when someone passes, even if it's not sudden. So if you have a chance to go out and enjoy the Jazz Festival, just cast some kind thoughts towards his family.
Yeah, and just to acknowledge Councilperson Babcock's concerns, I think it is a good time to obviously review the downtown space and the stuff that we're doing now that we're kind of coming back to full capacity, because this will be our first time really running this at full capacity. So I think we do have to closely evaluate kind of in a week-to-week kind of way, because we're going to see more volume and more things than we've had in a long time. So I think you make a legitimate concern. This is our first semi-post-pandemic, whatever you want to call this time period. So it's slightly different. I want to acknowledge, since she's not present today, so I'll do these resolutions as well. The birthday of our DE&I director, Elaine Hardy. She's running around the country having fun for her birthday. So happy birthday to her. And I want to acknowledge our resolutions for East Lansing City Council stand in solidarity with the LGBTQI+ community. Whereas the City of East Lansing affirms the rights of all humans to live as their authentic selves. Whereas in 1972, the City of East Lansing became the first city in the nation to enact civil rights protections for gay peoples. Therefore, be it resolved that East Lansing City Council recognizes pride, commends the bravery and solidarity and resiliency of the LGBTQI community in the face of violence and discrimination, and stands with you in your fight for equity. And we recognize Pride Month. So if she was here, she'd have read the whole thing, but that's not happening. But
It's quite thorough.
I just wanted to say, obviously, we stand with all residents in our community and represent an open community and a welcoming community at all times, and as well, this is a safe space for all faiths, beliefs, identities, etc. Second resolution is our Juneteenth resolution for our Juneteenth holiday in the City of East Lansing. This one's very extensive, but I do want to acknowledge the Juneteenth holiday comes from the Confederate state of Texas, enslaved people were not freed until much later than the original Emancipation Proclamation. Their freedom came on June 19th, 1865, when some 2,000 Union troops arrived in Galveston Bay, Texas. Juneteenth marks our country's second independence. It is truly a day for Americans to declare freedom. And Juneteenth was a long-standing holiday in the African-American community for many years. My family's from Kentucky. We celebrate emancipation August 8th. So there's multiple emancipation celebrations around the country depending on when your region became part of that. Whereas East Lansing's Pinecrest community has hosted Juneteenth celebrations with a community festival since March of 2018. Whereas East Lansing City Council encourages all organizations to join in national observation of Juneteenth by posting a copy of General Order Number 3 in their establishments. The historical legacy of Juneteenth shows the value of continuing to fight for free, inclusive, and humane society. The East Lansing City Council recognizes and celebrates Juneteenth. Just want to acknowledge there are many activities and things around the city. It's becoming one of those, and I've seen this myself for my family. 8th of August, we're from Paducah, Kentucky. It starts as a small thing and it becomes this really massive, almost I say commercial things, but I don't want us to lose sight of the importance of acknowledging the real reason for the holiday. And this is one that's taken a real rapid commercial turn into a good day off. So I want just to continue to acknowledge the freedoms and independences that we all enjoy today. And not all people are able to enjoy and indulge in those freedoms at the same time. So we just want to use that time to acknowledge that. Last but not least, I want to call up Kathy DeChambeau. I was reading the newsletter, and Parks' newsletter was so extensive, I couldn't remember it all, so I'll just want all your activities that you got going.
Mayor Bacon, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Mayor Pro Tem Gregg and Councilpersons Babcock and Watson. We do have a lot in our newsletter. We have a lot going on this summer, and I'm not going to be able to touch on all of it, so I'm worried anything that I leave out, it's all important.
Next week.
It's all really wonderful, so I may have to come up a second time. So I also want to say thank you to Mayor Bacon for ringing the bell at our inaugural opening of the farmers market season. Thank you for being there and doing that. Really, really great event. The farmers market will continue through October. I do want to point out that we will be celebrating Juneteenth on Sunday, June 19th at the farmers market with some special activities, so we look forward to that. We have the Crystal Awards coming up Thursday, June 16th, honoring community members' service to East Lansing. That's at 5 o'clock, I believe. Councilperson Babcock is involved in that wonderful ceremony. We have the Martin Luther King Art Contest exhibit that was being installed actually this afternoon upstairs outside of the DEI offices. That reception will be held on June 21st at 6 o'clock. It's a Tuesday just before City Council, so we hope to see a lot of folks there. We do have the Summer Solstice Jazz Festival kicking off on June 17th and 18th in the Albert Alfresco area. We have 20 musicians on 2 stages. We have renowned local, regional, national jazz artists for that wonderful festival. The summer concert series starts Friday, July 8th and runs through August 12th. It's from 7 to 9 in the Ann Street Plaza. We have the Family Fun Day celebrating 20 years of the Hannah Community Center because we didn't think that one celebration was enough. We've been giving you lots of celebrations at the Hannah Community Center. So this Family Fun Day will feature a fire truck from the fire department, games, free food, music. We are doing a bike and wagon decorating, and then having a panel of judges and some prizes for that. So that kind of harkens back to my childhood. I remember doing that with my bike. It's really kind of a fun thing. So that will be June 18th. That's a really busy weekend, the 18th, 17th, 18th, 19th in East Lansing, and it's from 10 to 1. We have Play in the Park starting on Tuesdays, July 12th. In Valley Court Park. Those are at 7 p.m. We have some really fun events with those this year, and we have a hands-on animal museum coming, and I'm pretty excited about that. We have some cool stuff to touch for kids. And we also just want to point out that we have youth scholarships available. I think it's always important to keep putting this out there for camps and activities all through the summer. You can go to cityofeastlansing.com/scholarships to find those application forms. You can call the Hannah Community Center 333-2580 for more information. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for all that work, and that's just a lot of cool stuff.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am?
will we be excused if we go to the Tuesday play in the park? I'm
No.
asking for Brookover. He's not here.
No. No. Be here.
Okay.
And I think that's it from us. City Manager's report. Thank you. City Attorney's report.
I don't have a report, but I believe at the beginning of the meeting, Councilwoman Babcock tried to make a motion to excuse Councilman Brookover, but we didn't have a vote on it. If we could just have that vote.
I move we excuse Councilmember Brookover from tonight's meeting.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next up, item 3.1, the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. We have the following items on the consent agenda for council's consideration. Item 3.1, approve the following appointments or reappointments to boards and commissions. A, Luke Hackney to the Downtown Development Authority for a full term ending June 30, 2026. B, Luke Hackney to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for a full term ending June 30, 2026. C, Greg Bauline to the Downtown Development Authority for a full term ending June 30, 2026. D, Greg Bauline to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for a full term ending June 30, 2026. E, Jacqueline Babcock to the Downtown Development Authority for a full term ending June 30, 2026. F, Jacqueline Babcock to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for a full term ending June 30, 2026. 3.2, approve a resolution acknowledging Pride Month in the City of East Lansing. 3.3, approve a resolution acknowledging Juneteenth in the City of East Lansing. 3.4, approve the 2023 through 2028 Capital Improvements Program Plan. 3.5, approve a 2-year renewal agreement for all the provision of the adult-based service program Active Living for All at 201 Hillside Court and authorize the city manager to sign. Item 3.6, approve amendment number 5 to the consultant services contract with C2AE Architecture and Engineering to perform design, bidding, and construction administration services for the Children's Garden at the East Lansing Public Library in the amount of $33,000. 3.7, approve an amended and restated Lansing Regional SmartZone agreement between the City of East Lansing, City of Lansing, Local Development Finance Authority for the cities of Lansing and East Lansing, and the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Item 3.8, approve an initial rental license application for 3961 Gallop Road for a conditional Class 3 rental license allowing up to 2 unrelated persons or a family to occupy the dwelling. The applicant is Assad Tanis, East Lansing. Item 3.9, set a public hearing for June 21st, 2022 to consider a site plan and special use permit application to renovate the building and open a restaurant serving alcoholic beverages at 321 East Grand River Avenue. Those are all the items on the consent agenda for council's consideration.
I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries on the consent agenda. And I meant to say this when you were up before, Mr. Hadar. Well, you put those concerns, they were extensive, in email to the whole of council, so we can review them kind of like bullet points, so we can, yeah, that'd be helpful. Thank you. Next up, item 4.1, consideration of a site plan, special use permit application to establish fraternity at 404 East Michigan Avenue.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So my name's Peter Menser. I'm the Planning and Zoning Administrator for the city. I'll be providing a very brief overview of this request, and then we have several members of the applicant team here tonight to share some information with you. This is a special use request for special use permit and site plan approval to locate a fraternity within an existing building located at 404 East Michigan Ave. This is the same request that was on your agenda back for a public hearing back in April at the April 5 meeting. However, that hearing at the time was canceled due to some confusion between the local chapter of the fraternity here in East Lansing and the fraternity's alumni association, and another site that they were pursuing in the city at 532 Ann Street. So if you think back to that time, the fraternity at 532 Ann Street was ultimately denied. That topic has since been resolved. The other site's no longer being pursued by this fraternity. So what we've done is renoticed the public hearing to be held this evening. So that this project, since it's come up a couple times, this is the last of the remaining special use permit applications for fraternities and sororities that are kind of in our chute. This one started back in December, and we had a couple meetings that were canceled, and then there was the issue with the other site. So this is the remaining one. The property at 404 East Michigan, it currently has a Class 4 rental license allowing occupancy for up to 12 people. There are 12 bedrooms in this building, 4 on the first floor, 5 on the second floor, and 3 on the third floor. There are kitchens on the first and third floor. Regarding gathering spaces, which is really probably most relevant to this request, there are 2. So both of which are expected to be used for events. There's a 230 square foot living room at 16 by 14 on the first floor, and there's an almost 500 square foot area on the lower level. So the maximum occupancy for that size in the lower level is 34 persons. And what we've done, and this has actually already been handled, included a condition on this approval at the Planning Commission level, or they recommended a condition to add a placard in the basement denoting that established maximum occupancy. So that's already actually been done, regardless of whether the special use permit gets approved. So regarding parking, which is really kind of the other issue that is of importance with these kinds of requests, there are 10-space lot located immediately to the north of the building. The city's ordinance actually requires 1/2 parking space per occupant. So with 12 occupants, a total of 6 spaces are required, and that's really just talking about the people that live in the building full time. The applicant has indicated that events will be attended by visitors that are on foot or travel to the space in another way outside of a vehicle that's parking on site. And I'm not aware of any parking issues for this property, and the applicant can certainly illuminate you further on the plans for parking for chapter events. Very briefly, want to touch on surrounding land uses. This property is located in an area really within a block where a lot of other student rentals are located. There's a fraternity immediately to the east of this property that's licensed for 15 occupants. There's a fraternity around the corner on Lewis Street that's licensed for 20, and there are several larger apartment developments in the block, including Wedgwood, Studio House, Delta Arms, University Terrace, and The Gates. So really, there are hundreds of rentals, rental units and rental students living in this immediate block, kind of by right on Grand River between Lewis and Delta Street. Planning Commission held a public hearing on this request at its meeting in February, February 23rd. They voted to recommend approval at their meeting on March 9. For your consideration tonight is a motion to recommend or to approve the special use permit request. I do want to call out a piece of paper I left at each of your spaces tonight. This is just a very, it's an addendum to what is in the meeting packet. In the meeting packet, we're suggesting 3 conditions. What I've handed you includes a 4th. The 4th is specifically related to the rental license. So what I'm suggesting here is that the applicant works with the housing administrator to update the rental license to the property to reflect the character of the building as 1 unit with 12 bedrooms. Right now it's, I think, identified as 3 units. And so we'd like to clarify that because now we have updated floor plans and understand exactly how this building is configured. If you have any questions for me, I am available. A representative for the applicant is here. Actually, the chapter president of the fraternity is also here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Josie Lewis. I'm the attorney for CRMC, or Wells Engstrom. They're the applicant of this property. CRMC is the property manager. I have with me today, and thank you, Mr. Menser, you did a good outline of what the issues are, or lack thereof. Really, I think we've met the threshold of occupancy and parking. I did bring with me today several representatives. I have Thomas Reeder with me today. He's the architect that did the site plan. I have Jameson Bandavis here. He's the president, the local chapter president of the fraternity. I also have Wayne Heiner here, who's a representative from CRMC. Hopefully, we can answer any questions that you may have.
Questions?
I wanted to clarify, I think I know the building in question just from driving by. It is currently occupied by the fraternity
It
and
is.
functioning as a fraternity.
It is currently occupied by the members of the fraternity.
Okay, so this is one of those kind of, I consider this to be one of those kind of cleanup ones where we're bringing an existing building into sort of under our umbrella, so to speak, which is slightly different than some of the other ones that we've heard.
Yeah. May I add that? So I think that's a fair assessment. But also anecdotally, I don't have data on this, but it has been used by fraternal organizations in the past.
Just to clarify, Peter, the organization is currently in this.
They have moved in, and they may have more. The applicant may have more information on that.
Yes, they are currently residing there, and it has been used for a fraternity, so we're not trying to change the use. Like you indicated, we're just sort of trying to clean this up and make it proper and official.
Does the president live on site?
Yes.
And is the president here today?
Yes, Mr. Bandavis.
Any noise complaints or litter complaints?
Come on up. You wear a sports coat, we have to have you up here. That's how it goes.
To address your question, if there's any noise complaints or litter, in terms of noise complaints, I have taken it upon myself to establish very good relations with our neighbors. You know, I've dropped my contact information with the apartment directly to our right. To the left, it's another fraternity house, so they don't, they don't quite care about the noise. We don't produce much noise anyway. In terms of the litter, we like to keep our property clean. I just cleaned up our parking lot maybe like last week myself. But a lot of litter does come from the homeless in the area, and the apartment immediately to our right, it just blows over during the storms, and that's when we have to clean it up. But in terms of ourselves, we like to keep a clean property.
Thank you.
On second thought, I do have a question for Mr. Menser when you get back to it.
Are we all set with them? We're all set.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I always say no questions, and then I come up with one.
That's okay.
Mr. Menser, so there are 12 bedrooms in this house. The basement will have an occupancy limit of 34 people. How many people do we anticipate actually residing in the house?
I think the applicant could answer that better, but they're limited to 12 total.
Okay, so one per bedroom. Okay.
Stay up here for a second. Right now, we are only moving in one person per bedroom. That's a big incentive. People want to move in the house anyway, out of the dorms. They don't have to live with a roommate. They have their own privacy, so we keep it to 12.
Okay, thank you. Wait, 24?
What was that?
24 or one per bedroom at 12?
One per bedroom at 12. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
There's no further questions? All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone has any comments, or the floor is yours? Seeing none in person, anyone in the online queue?
No callers on the line.
All right. Thank you. All right. So, seeing none, at this time, we'll close the public hearing. So the action on this is that giant motion that you sent over?
I'd like to read it.
Okay.
Since it's on paper.
Yep.
I move to approve the site plan and special use permit application from Josie Lewis to establish a fraternity in an existing building at 404 East Michigan Avenue, subject to the 4 conditions.
Is that,
I'll second.
is that correct? Oh, read the conditions?
Pass. I'm just kidding. With the following conditions. The applicant shall work with the city fire marshal and building division to post a play card in the 499 square foot gathering space in the basement, identify the occupancy limits of 34 persons. The applicant shall reorient the existing bike rack and secure it to the ground so that it can accommodate a minimum of 6 bicycles. The applicant shall install an illuminated exit sign with emergency backup power above the exit door in the basement gathering space. And the applicant shall work with the housing administrator to update the rental license for the property to reflect the character of the building as 1 unit with 12 bedrooms.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item 5.1 on the business agenda. Consideration of billing and collection service contract with Accumed for a period of 10 years for East Lansing Fire Department. On Chief Carson. And I moved, this was on the consent agenda, Chief, and not to undermine, as it is a kind of simple transaction issue, but I moved it on here, kind of hearing from the other organization, the former organization, and the long tenure of that relationship. I just wanted to have a little conversation for council around the change of vendors and that kind of thing, because we did hear from the outgoing or incoming, so I just wanted to hear the rationale and that kind of thing.
One thing that we're entering into is a contract. It is a long-term contract, but we would get a better percent rate going in. It is a vetted organization that other entities are using. We do have other entities within the metro area that are utilizing them. I have researched what they have to offer, and from my perspective, it is a little better than we're already receiving. So with that, that is why I'm trying to pursue something maybe that's a little better, a little different. This might not have been addressed before in previous chiefs. It might not have been as much of a priority with being a new chief. I did a lot more research, and that's how I came to my conclusion.
Any questions?
I have a question. How long was the current contract?
It's a year to year right now.
Okay. And so is it normal, like did other places have this 10-year contract?
The RFP that we're using is from Warren that allows us, a very large entity with a very high run volume, to get a very good rate, even though our run volume is probably a third to half of that. I have done research and talking to different groups as well. They've used other entities and they've moved to them and have been very, very pleased with them. They're a larger organization. They have a lot more resources.
Any other questions? Yeah, I think my really only questions that were raised or concerns just being the prior organization that reached out, being local, just kind of in the business ecosystem of things, just making sure that we did our due diligence if we're gonna cut loose a local organization. Is Accumed more of a national thing, or are we losing that local touch? Or
They're out of Ann Arbor, family owned, and do they go outside of Michigan? Yes, but they're pretty significant in this area.
Yeah. So full respect for the decision to make the changeover, but I just want to make sure that we're considering the impact of a local partner in discharging them. I just wanted to make sure we gave full consideration of that. that impact or that kind of thing. That was the only thing that stuck out to me, and they did reach out to talk about it, but ultimately I consider this your decision and what's best for the department. But I did want council to have a chance to get a look at your consideration. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the billing and collection services contract with AccuMed for a period of 10 years for the East Lansing Fire Department.
I'll second.
Do we need to authorize the signer of that? We usually have that in there, or is that?
I think we included the contract as we negotiated it, and I think it's already set to sign by the city manager.
Okay, cool.
Further discussion? All right. Hearing none. All in favor?
Do we have a second?
Is this open for discussion?
It's not a public hearing.
Well, are you Rick?
Yeah, I'm Rick. I'd like to present some materials to the council, if that's all right.
I think he didn't know to come during the poll. He did reach out to speak.
Oh, okay.
It's at the mayor's discretion to give a point of privilege.
Sorry if I didn't understand the protocol there.
I have a few things for you.
Thanks. It's okay. Oh, take one and pass it? Sure. Okay. Okay, all right. Yep, that's all right. Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor, you may want to consider putting a time limit on your point of privilege.
Yeah. We'll do 5 minutes.
Okay. Good evening. My name's Rick Frankfurt. I live at 1044 Sunset Lane, right here in East Lansing. Local resident. My business is Medical Management Systems. We are located at 1701 Lake Lansing Road. We have had the pleasure and privilege to work for the City of East Lansing for the last 28 years. And in that 28-year time period, we've taken a lot of pride in our relationship with the City of East Lansing and representing you. We've worked with a lot of patients over the last 28 years. And I just wanted to kind of touch on two different areas. And the first area is the strength of our service and show you some of the numbers of what we've done for you. And the second one is to show you the value of the money that you've spent with us, what we're doing for you. When you go to this first document here that looks like this, it's an account analysis, and I'll touch on this as quick as I can. In the account analysis, you'll see that we're looking at fiscal year 21-22, and at this point, our collections are $1,131,000. Our budgeted number this year was $950,000, so we've already exceeded our budget by close to $181,000, and we still have one more month to post. So I'm pretty confident that number is going to be well over $250,000 over budget. So the amount of revenue that we're bringing in for you is pretty significant. The other thing that I wanted to touch on is how much that is per encounter. When we bill for an ambulance service, we bill for the service, and then we also bill for mileage, and we get paid by the insurance carriers for both of those. On average, the charge is $815, and our average payment is $420. And if you go to the document that shows you what the carriers reimburse, and it's a spreadsheet, it says fee schedule at the top of it. Each year I come to the city and I present to them what the insurance carriers are paying. So when we're charging $800 for a run and $14.25 for mileage now, you can see exactly what each of the major carriers are paying. So Medicare represents 48%, or almost half of all the ambulance runs that we do, and about 80% of those are ALS emergent runs. So we're getting paid $438. So we're charging $800, Medicare pays $438, the difference is a contractual write-off. You and every other ambulance service in the state of Michigan, with the exception of a few counties in Detroit, get paid the exact same amount. So that is a payment that everybody receives. When we look at Blue Cross Blue Shield, that represents 8% of your business. They pay $624 for that type of run. So they're a lot better, but again, a lot smaller piece of your demographic mix. And then Medicaid, which is 24% of your runs, pays at $335. And this has gone up pretty substantially from where they were. About a year ago, Medicaid was paying at $240, and Medicaid, prior to an adjustment they made 4 years ago, hasn't really had a big adjustment in 20 years, so they've really increased their fees. What I'm trying to show you here is when you put an ambulance run in, here's what the expected reimbursement's going to be, and what we're averaging for our reimbursement is $420 for every ambulance run you're doing. And when you consider the number of runs that are Medicaid, Medicare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and then some of your other insurances and your people that don't have any insurance, 420 is an exceptional number. The other thing that I wanted to show you is basically what your accounts receivable is. And these are claims that are in the system that have not been paid. And right now, our accounts receivable is at $206,000. And that seems like a lot of money, but when you look at an average month, we add charges of $200,000, and it takes 4 to 6 weeks to bill primary, secondary, and patient balance. To have 1 month of accounts receivable is pretty remarkable. The other thing I wanted to show you quickly is our collection ratios, and we've increased those pretty substantially this past year, but we're at 52%. So for every dollar we're billing for you, we're collecting 52
30
cents.
seconds remaining.
I'm sorry, 52 cents on the dollar. The last thing I really kind of wanted to show you was this pie chart, and that's something you really should take into consideration, because this is the demographic mix of your patients. So that really does play into what your collection ratios are, how those work out. The last thing I wanted to quickly show you was this list right here. And this page shows you how much you paid Medical Management Systems last year. You paid us almost $63,000. And in that $63,000, the entire list of services that we provided for you are right there. We've got a lot more services that we do offer, but that the City of East Lansing did not take us up on over the years. I'd be more than happy to talk to the fire chief and everybody else about what our capabilities are. I think there's some things that you have not been using that you should have been using for several years now, and I really would like the opportunity to keep your business, keep it local, keep my employees working. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
May I ask a few quick questions? Yeah, did you sit down with anyone, any city staff to talk about what was happening? Because I know you mentioned you got the letter.
I got the letter the day before the last council meeting, so I didn't have a whole lot of time. I placed a couple calls to the fire chief, didn't talk to her before the meeting, but have talked to her since then, because I felt like I was blindsided. I didn't really know the reason I was being terminated. She told me it was because of a lack of customer service, that we were unresponsive to the accounting department. I was slow in responding. These are all things that I think I can address, I can work on, I can find out what the real issues are, and I can fix. I can go to these offices very easily. The accounting department is right down the street from us. I'd be more than happy to meet with them as much as possible. I called the people in the accounting department to get to the bottom of what those issues were. We had a very pleasant conversation, and I've got a meeting with them on the 11th. And with accounting, there's always some balancing issues that we have to address. They're usually small in dollar, but kind of irritating that you're not balancing and getting that month done. I'm always available. I meet with our clients as often as they want to. Typically, I meet quarterly or semi-annually with clients to talk to them about their accounts. I sent emails to everybody on the council. I called several of you multiple times trying to get appointments. So I tried, but it was 2 weeks is a pretty short time to get with everybody.
Can you remind me again, what percentage of your business is of the East Lansing Fire Department?
As a percentage of our business, ambulance, is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, what percentage of the business, of your dollars
It's about 30% of our overall business is ambulance. We also do a lot of hospital billing, and we also do a lot of private practice physician groups.
For fire?
Pardon me?
For the fire department?
Are you referring to East Lansing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she means total capture, like what do we represent as whole of?
Ambulance as far as a percentage?
East Lansing as
East Lansing?
percentage of your total business.
I don't know exactly.
Okay.
I'd be guessing 5 to 10% probably.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So, Mayor, I appreciate the longstanding relationship. I think at this point, you know, I'm talking to the chief and talking to the finance department. I think they've had a lengthy process where they've had to address issues, and now we're getting a discussion at the end. But I think that there was a lengthy process where they tried to get satisfaction, and that's why they drove them to have a process. They had a fair process, and they made a selection, and I would recommend that we go with the chief's recommendation at this point. But I understand the medical management coming to make their case, but that's what I recommend at this point.
Thank you. Questions?
We've got a seconded motion on the table, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I would have one reservation really in the process is that the person who would pull those numbers to shreds isn't here at this moment and look for comparable numbers, and I feel that I'd want him to have the opportunity to do so, because the questions he'd be asking right now would be prudent to the fiscal part of this thing.
Mr. Brookover?
That would be Mr. Brookover,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I've definitely heard what, our current customer has to say, and he seems like a very upstanding business person and a great member of the community. I think the point made by the city manager and you earlier really is that this seems to be the, kind of the chief, or Chief Carson's decision of who she wants to work with within her department. And that's kind of what it comes down to me, which, doesn't mean I don't have, regrets to the person who's losing the work, but I think that the chief is comfortable with her decision, and I think that's kind of what it comes down to me, so.
I would echo Councilmember Gregg's words. I had an opportunity to speak with this gentleman, and I enjoyed speaking with him. We shared a love for East Lansing, in particular gardens and his neighborhood. I think, however, in a city manager form of government, this is something that falls squarely within the city manager and city staff's purview, and that it's important to respect the decision of the chief and also to respect what the council can and cannot do with our powers. I'm protective of what the powers that are reserved to the council, and so to be fair, I also have to be protective of the powers that the city manager form of government reserves for the administration.
And I'll have to fall in that camp as well, as that is accurate. But I will say, as we're doing these business practices, as someone who in their daytime does do this for a living, that we're excellent communicators when we're going to make changes and do those kinds of things. And I understand the ones and zeros and those kinds of things, and even service level, but I do have a certain affinity for this local economic ecosystem of sorts, so that's my only, it's eating at me, that we're cutting ties with a local company inside of our own ecosystem. So that's gonna eat at me, and I apologize that I can't, it's really not my choice, but that and even that with the stuff with downtowns and the bars and restaurants and that kind of thing, that we consider this ecosystem and make sure it's healthy, and we're having those conversations around that stuff. But to that point, any more questions, any more comments, or I'll leave it there. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Motion carries on item 5.1. Item 5.2, consideration of liability insurance package presented by Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services, Inc., for the period of July 1, 2022 through July 1, 2023, in a combined amount not to exceed $538,443, and authorize the interim financial director to sign all documents necessary to bind the insurance coverage.
Good evening. I'm presenting the general liability and excess workers' comp coverage for the upcoming fiscal year. I can provide a general overview of our process, but we also have our agent, Rich from Gallagher, here to answer any specific coverage questions or those nitty-gritty questions for you. So our process is a little different this year. We started by looking for a new broker potentially. Ultimately, we ended up staying with Gallagher based on price and our history with them. But they reached out to about 25 companies to source different packages for us. They presented us two competitive options, one with our expiring carrier and then one with another carrier. We're recommending to go with a new carrier, Liberty Mutual. We feel like that company is providing appropriate coverage for us, where Travelers has chosen not to offer molestation and sexual abuse coverage, which we feel like is important to keep. So we felt like the Liberty coverage had appropriate coverage and also has some cost savings because we don't have to use an outside claims management company, which is a separate contract, so that would be eliminated. So the savings there, and overall the total premium price would basically be flat from the prior year. Potentially some savings with out-of-pocket coverage with a lowered self-insured retention limit for an alternate deductible at a lower amount. And then also savings from budget, because I had estimated a potential increase, and so we've got savings in a couple different places. So we feel like it's an appropriate recommendation to go with the Liberty Mutual coverage.
Yeah, and I'm the one that moved this off the consent agenda. It's actually completely appropriate for the consent agenda. I just wanted the rationale entered into the record, and you just did that. So that was that for me. Questions? If none, I'll look for a motion.
I'll move approval. Do I need to say that? Of the liability insurance package presented by Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services, Inc. for the period of July 1st, 2022 through July 1st, 2023, in the combined amount not to exceed $538,443, and authorize the interim finance director to sign all documents necessary to bind the insurance coverage.
Second. Okay. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we'll be entering closed session. We'll enter closed session via roll call vote. We will only be returning back to the general chambers to adjourn the meeting. So at this time, we'll look for a roll call vote to enter closed session.
I would request a motion, roll call vote to enter into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268 sub E to discuss pending litigation in the matter of Najim Nasir v. Kim Johnson et al., United States District Court, case number 122-CV-388, with the finding that discussion in an open meeting would have a detrimental financial effect on the litigating position of the city.
Can that verbiage be deemed the motion?
So if you could, move that and second it, and then roll call.
All right, so moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Yes. Councilmember Brookover. Councilmember Watson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gregg.
Yes.
Mayor Bacon.
Yes. So we'll be leaving the chamber at this time. We'll only be returning back to adjourn the meeting. All right. Yep, I'll look for a motion to adjourn the closed session.
I move we adjourn the closed session.
Second.
Enthusiasm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Meeting adjourned.